Do it, baby.
This is Chris Whalen, CPA, and welcome to the Street Level Business Podcast. This is one of a series of interviews that I'm calling Coronavirus Lockdown Business Stories, where I interview other business owners about their experience with the lockdown. And today I have some of my favorite people here, good friends of mine, Stephen Talercio and his head manager, Eric. And they basically Steve owns and runs Talercio's Gourmet Deli in Middletown. So Steve, just give us a little bit background on you and a little bio.
I'm here in this business personally about 33 years. In this type of business, over 50 years. And it's my life. You know, I run every day. You know, I work every day as hard as I could. Like it's the first day I opened it. And that's my success. My success is not to just own a business and give orders and say, you know, I'm the boss and that's it. You got to be part of the group. If you don't have a team behind you and you're part of the team, you're going to know that, especially today. So I feel very important like that. When I come in, I'm the first one in. I'm not afraid of mopping the floor or washing a dish. You know what I'm saying? You got to be part of a group. This way they respect you to help.
And before I get to my questions, you had made a comment to me. Of course, you and I was always having discussions when I come in to see you guys. And I had asked you about expansion or franchising what you do. And you were very, clear and emphatic about the fact that that's not always the best way to go. Hope you remember that conversation where, so I think that for other business owners who might have a great idea or a great system as you've developed apparently. So why don't you give some advice about not rushing into that, because people could get excited about Talercio's 1, Talercio's 2, like I could have Chris Whalen CPA in different locations. So give everybody your advice on that.
This is how I feel. And most of you good, successful businesses in my type of business has one good store. You have a mother store. And I was thinking in the future, well, in the back when I started thinking about doing that, opening another store. So right away, what I did my homework. I sat down with people that did have other stores. And I hear, it's like almost like a 50-50, but mostly 60-70 that didn't like the idea. Because what happens is you really got to cut yourself in half the time, number one. And a lot of times when you have these other places, one bails each other out. If you have a good year with one business, the other one's not doing so good. So basically, and again, equality. You got to be consistent in what you do, like your quality of what you do. Now think about how you are personal with other people. Now you want to open another office. What happens? The person that's working for you ain't going to be like you. And what happens is, a lot of times, I write deal with Chris. And that's 99%. 99% of my customers, where's your father? Where's Steve? Where's Steve? Lucky my son, he developed and I got good workers outside. They don't look for me as often. I try to back off a little bit. But basically, they want to look for the main guy, which is like you and me. Right. And that's why I didn't want to really go into another business. Then you got a lifestyle.
And you bring up a good point, because I just say, if you had another location, someone isn't going to be you, but they really can't be and they shouldn't have to be. You're never going to find someone who's not an owner who has the same enthusiasm or care. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs make a mistake where they put much too much pressure on people they bring in. Even if you bring someone in and you give them a percentage of something, they're still not you. So I always try to temper entrepreneurs' expectations to let them know, hey, what should you expect from a manager? Someone like Eric, he's fantastic, but wasn't an original owner. So I try to stop that kind of friction. Well, I appreciate you, because I have that conversation with business owners all the time. And like I said, even with me, I've had a lot of offers to franchise what I do.
Yeah.
People want Chris Whalen CPA in Philadelphia and Denver. And absolutely not. I mean, just for it's diminishing returns too, how much more profit you're going to make. And, I'm making basically my net salary on my net income. If there's another location, I have to pay somebody too. So, right. So I'd rather have a quality store or office location like I have, just like you do. So I'm glad you expanded on that, because that really struck me when we had that conversation.
Quality of life. You got to realize something. Even if you have a family, sometimes you can't live the business because then you have no family. It's like, it's hard to have everything. So if you could have a little bit of everything, enjoy your family, because me and my son are very close. Now, if I had 3-4 stores, I don't know if it'd be as close as we are. You know what I'm trying to say? What happens is you got to have a little bit of everything. And if you're happy with that, you go a long way.
Right. I agree. It's having a quality of life is really important. So let's get what was the first you heard, and what were your first thoughts when you heard that there's going to be some shutdown, business shutdown, although catered food or prepared food, which is it wouldn't have hurt you as much. But what was your first thoughts about it when you heard about it?
And what happens in a situation like that, because I'm here, you got to reorganize. See, in business, it's like anything else. You got to adjust. If you can't adjust and go with the new ways, you go nowhere. So what did I do right away? Took away the tables, like they said, the chairs. You see what I have. Now I got to become a grocery store. I added the paper towels. I added the bleach. I added this. I added that. Meats I already had, but now extended more. Vegetables, extended it. You got to go with the change. You got to go with the flow. If you old school and you say, no, I'm just going to do what I got to do, you're going to be in trouble. You got to change. And successful people do change. You got to go with the change. You got to go with the different atmosphere. And you hope for the best. And then, again, you got to be in a situation where you could accept what you're doing now, too, because you're going to make less. So that's why you try to always have a little more put away for yourself for a rainy day, because a lot of people live on the edge. In a business, you can't live out of the drawer.
Thank you for saying that, because that's the biggest thing is budgeting for savings every month for a rainy day.
A lot of people in business, one thing my father did teach me, you always have a little bit, you can't live out of the drawer. You know what that means, right? You can't live out of the drawer. You got to always have a little for a rainy day. And my whole life was that way. So that's why, you got to live like the old generation did do that. They were very successful business. And where they live, in a little house in Brooklyn, over Chevy. But let me tell you, they retired, right? They had money in the bank all the time, helped their children and needed to buy a house. Because and that's how it's going. Today it's harder and harder because the children today need help from their parents because majority of them can't afford a house today.
Right.
So if you got to make sure that you really, when you have children, think a lot, have success in your background, and make sure you can handle the situation you're in.
So just to give everyone an idea of what you do. So you walk in, it's you can have prepared food, catering food. People come in and buy sandwiches, as we know. So since this happened, has there been any exposure of any kind of a weakness in your processing there? Has there been anything interesting that you said, wow, I should have had this in place anyway in the past? I mean, it could be there could be nothing.
What happened? No, you know what happened in the situation? You got to try to throw different things into the business, like you say, fruit and vegetables. Never had it before. I gave it a shot, and it's starting to move. But then you also got to accept that when supermarkets start we go back to themselves again, you may lose that.
Right.
But don't forget, I do no catering. So you have to adjust because don't forget, I did a lot of catering. I do a lot for the hospitals, people in the area, graduations, communions. There's none of that no more. So what does that tell you? You got to readjust. You know what I'm trying to say?
I do. So I'm interested in your mix of sales now. So now we have a lot more people home all day, and so we have a lunch crowd with you. We know we have big lines anyway. So if you look at the past couple of months, would you say that the amount of food that you're preparing for people at home is much higher? So your prepared food, people coming in to pick up orders, not just buying a sandwich. So tell me about how that's changed since the lockdown.
Their food is doing better. Why? Because there's no more catering. So it's 5 to 7. So I do a lot of that. You understand? But basically, all my big orders, there is no more. There's like the 100 people, 50 people.
Right.
There's no more barbecue. I do backyard barbecues. That's no more. So what you try to adjust to is the outside, the front. That's why you want to do more volume. You want to do more, 5 to 7 people. You do curbside. You do this. You do that. You know what I'm trying to say? Sandwich is successful. I do well with that. My prepared foods, I always do good with that. But what's taking off now is the 5 to 7 dinners, which helps a lot of people. It's
right.
Don't forget, you still got to watch people the price because people are in trouble themselves. So you can't take advantage of a situation where people need you and you're going to charge. No, you got to. Right.
And one of the main reasons why I wanted to talk to you was because people assume, oh, you're food service, you're open, you're lucky. as if you've had it made, which is not the case. There's been a dramatic reduction in many of your larger volume work. So it's important for people to know that even if you're partially open, it doesn't necessarily mean we're making profit. I just did a good blog post about the question that if let's say you're a retail store that's closed right now, and they want you to come back on June 15th with limited occupancy. I'm telling everyone, until we have a date where we have full occupancy available, you don't want to open at all.
100% right. I know I don't want to mention names. I know this place on the shore. The business that does tremendous business, right? It's a woman that owns it, and my wholesale. I talked to him yesterday, and he says to me, she's not going to open up. She decided not to do it, and she had the right reason. She lost. Think about it. She's going to lose April and probably part of May. So even if she opens up, let's say June 1st, okay? Now listen to this. Common sense. You just lost 2 months. Gone. So now what she has to do, she got to bring everybody. Even if you get the money, you're going to be in trouble, because let me tell you what happens. You got to pay all your payroll. You got to buy merchandise. You got to do this. You got to do that. And only at 25%, 50 business.
Right.
So in the next 2 months, if you're in a Jersey Shore area, you got 2 months to make up almost 4 months.
Right.
Almost.
And that's I'm glad that you're agreeing with my point that, especially if you're just are centric for the summer.
They close. You take the loss. See, I already wrote off 2020. I wrote the year off, and I accepted it because I know it ain't gonna never be the same.
Right.
So,
right. So I think that, like, the advice I have for people is, if you aren't just a summer business and you still can't open until you have a drop dead, fully occupied date, because what if they'd say June 15th and there's no guarantee you're going to get 25% occupancy with people being nervous. So you need to know when that date is, then work with your account to see, well, analyze when can I open. So, because we don't want to use this loan money that we're getting for losses. I'm telling everyone, we got this loan money or PPP. We only want to use that to finance at least a break even or some profit. Be very careful, because could you just imagine we don't have a full occupancy? Some of these loans are going to come due, and then you still have only partial occupancy. You'll be paying back a loan without even be fully open. That sounds ridiculous.
You got to make sure, even though you have that money, you still got to operate correctly to make sure you have enough profit.
Right.
If you lose that money by now, then you have a problem.
Right.
To be honest with you, you got to make, because you got. Don't forget, you didn't hit the hard times yet. What happens when, especially in the food business, what happens when September comes, when there's nothing going on? October, there's nothing going on. You got to make it to the next holiday. So that's where you got to make sure that you're in a good situation, that you want to get worse. You know, it's
right.
Not easy.
And that's a perfect. I'm leading into the question about your short and long-term feelings about food service, but also about the economy in general. So you just made a really good point about how seasonal the food business is. And, so if your summer is demolished, then September, October is going to be low. So you got to be really careful when you reopen, when you obligate yourself, because if you reopen again and then you fail again, you're going to be closed forever.
Now look at the restaurant situation. This is how I look at a restaurant situation. They work on a certain percentage, but now there's going to be a shortage of meat, correct? There are going to be certain rules where you have to put up plastic separators from the tables. Okay, that's all expense. So now what you're telling me now is going to cost me more money to open my door, right? The meat alone doubled. So what does that mean? If the steak dinner right now costs you $40 a head, what's it going to be, $60 a head? So see how it works? So then what happens is, how is a person going to afford even to go out to eat with their family? It's not going to be easy. And then you got to worry about the person that does go, when do you go out to eat? I work so hard, I got to go out, I have to go out to eat. But if you don't even have a job that you're doing, how are you going to go out to eat? I tell you, this really...
Right. And it adds to my point that you need to have 100% occupancy possible, but that's no guarantee either. But you can't reopen where it's only a partial occupancy, because it's a recipe for disaster.
About this. Right now, I talked to somebody today, and they said to me, what happens if they say it's going to come back in October? What do we do then? Then you got another 2 months of this.
Right.
It's going to be a situation, I'm telling you, it ain't going to be easy. I think a good year. Next year at this time, you got to be hopeful that we're in a situation where we could bounce back. I say at minimum.
Right. I
That's
would definitely agree with that. So I just want you to, well, one of the last things to do is to say, in your line of work, what do you think has been, is there anything that you've put into place? I'm asking all business owners this, that you've put into place since the lockdown that you might continue, right? So all these changes you mentioned. So is there anything that, hey, even if the lockdown goes away tomorrow?
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to turn into a little, I'm better off. I'm not going to bring my tables back. And I'm going to have more grocery items because it does bring the sale of the, whatever you, it's 10, 15%. It does help the business. You know what I'm trying to say?
Oh, right. Well, please tell everyone you still have tables. Do you still have tables to sit at just outside the glass area there? Important people to know, because we want to get that Talercio's dining in experience that we've all come to love. One of my favorite things.
And I probably sell, extend my meats, and I'm going to add on my vegetables. So I really, because the front is doing much better than the back, and I think I'm going to keep it the way it is right now for the future.
See that's so it's interesting that it's going to have a lasting effect after the lockdown. It's interesting. I'm asking everyone I'm interviewing all that specific question. It's very interesting to see people are talking about their video conferencing more. They're getting comfortable with that, so they see the benefit of having that available. So why don't you give some sage advice now for a younger entrepreneur, whether in your industry or not? Again, you've given some great advice already, just some basics right now that you'd want to impart to them. And then you could also tell people exactly where you are and how to reach you.
Okay, I make my, why don't I answer him? Because he's my youngest one. So what I do to you to rub off on you? So what do you learn from me? If you hear, he's here about 6 years now. Okay, so what does he see? How, and he saw all of a sudden this happened. I changed my whole person. Boom. Right.
Put it this way, Chris. If I was at any stage of business, there's probably a few cracks in my egg. I'm not even sprouting from that yet in terms of this business. I follow even the people that have been here before that are younger than me. They've been here more years than I have. I try to use my best assets, which happens to be just, my craziness. I tend to go to my crazy personality and, my humbleness. I think that when I go into a room, there's something I can learn from everybody. I don't know more than anybody in that room. I can learn something from everybody. It just so happens that I ended up in a situation where my idol could teach me not just life things, but business things. I always took the life advice as close to the chest as possible. Now, in the business aspect, I see that as growing up, I never understood why he couldn't take a day off or a half hour or leave an hour early. The best type of advice is you have to go all in. If you don't go all in, then it's not worth it. You have to go, because it's very easy to say, that's my business, that's my name, and then simply collect a check at the end of the day. It's easy to do that. And there's a lot of problems with that, because you have to put in the time yourself. You have to be, just like my father was speaking earlier about being as a team, you have to be in the trenches with everybody else. If that means sweeping at the end of the day, if that means cleaning the corner of the glass, bleaching a part of the store, you have to make sure that at least you're doing the same as everybody in that store. Because if there's a type of ego, literally, I know not to sound like basic, you have to leave your ego at the door.
No, it's great. It's great advice.
You have to leave your ego at the door, because if you walk in with your chest up and looking down, you're not going to get that far. Because even 30, even 50 plus years of this type of business, there's still something he's learning every day.
Every day. And that's how you
every day.
Every day.
I agree.
Every day. And you know what? If you think that you've conquered it,
that's when you got
exactly.
Never.
I wake up every day as if I have to earn every new client. You know me, guys. So I appreciate it. So tell everyone how to reach you and what your service area is. Tell everyone how to reach you and what you do again, and give them the phone number so they can call and reach out and fall in love with your delicious food as I had. That's why I'm very glad that the video only goes from the chest up.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Very important too. The community you're in, which is, I do a lot. You got to give back.
We happen to be involved with the best community around,
Yeah.
Monmouth County and everyone else.
We do a lot
nothing
back.
but.
And you know what? You would never. People always say, "Oh, I got this." Listen, I don't want no. I just like doing help people. That's my personality.
I'm not gonna lie to you. There's probably people that you're gonna see this video and they don't even know that I was his son because I keep everything under wraps. That's the truth. This is like almost like my introduction. Like I said, the crack in the egg. The best thing also, just a little side note, with everything that's going on with COVID-19, and you were saying about what is the best to continue with. Honestly, using your platforms. Instagram is a way that you can connect to us. Facebook is a way that you can connect to us. They have great advertising. That's the way that we've survived. We've been promoting all of our stuff, promoting our business on there. Internet. So, it's a blessing and a curse, the technology that we have. But in our case, it's helped us. So you could reach us at Talercio's on Instagram, Talercio's on Facebook. We're located in Union Square Mall, right across the street from Whole Foods, right on Route 35 South. Our phone number is 732-576-1888. And you could reach us even at talercios.com.
If I could help anybody, anytime, you come see me.
Well, thank you, guys. So this has been Chris Whalen, CPA, and this has been a special edition of the Street Level Business Podcast. Thank you very much for joining me, guys. You give a lot of great advice, and I'm sure this can help thousands of people. Have a great day, and I'll see you probably in an hour to get my lunch.
No problem. I'll see you.
Stay healthy, everyone.